They say sleep is essential. It's one of the three basic human needs, right after air and water. We need sleep to live, just like we need sleep to dream. But what if someone never needed it? What if someone didn't just hate sleeping, or thought it was stupid to sleep? What if they literally never did? That's what happened to a man who claimed he hadn't slept in over 15 years. And what happened when scientists tried to prove him wrong will haunt you. It all began in 2007 when a man known only as Elias appeared on obscure internet forums claiming he had a rare neurological condition. He said he hadn't slept since 1992. No naps, no unconsciousness, just constant awareness. At first, most people laughed. No way someone could go 15 years without sleeping. Not one night, not one moment of even light sleep. But then Elias began posting daily. He shared his thoughts at 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 5 a.m. He described his activities, his routine, everything about being awake. And he never once missed a post. He logged on every hour, always at the top of the page. He predicted the sunrise and sunset. He spoke about the weather, the changing seasons. He talked about birds and deer outside his window. Always online, always awake. His posts were too perfect, too precise. He wrote about his surroundings with such accuracy, it seemed impossible he was lying. So a group of underground researchers became obsessed with proving him wrong. They tracked his IP address and found he lived in a remote cabin deep in the woods of Oregon. No electricity, no phone, just a generator and a satellite link. With no way to verify his identity or location, the group reached out through his forum, offering to study him. Soon, Elias replied, "I agree to be studied, but only under one condition. No one sleeps while I am awake." The researchers accepted, and soon a convoy arrived at his cabin. Dr. Emmett Brown led the team. An expert in sleep disorders, he planned to monitor Elias for any signs of rest. Cameras surrounded the cabin, recording from every angle. Inside, monitors displayed graphs and brainwave frequencies. Various sleep trackers measured Elias's breathing, heart rate, muscle activity. Everything indicated signs of sleep, except Elias himself. On the first night, Brown watched through a two-way mirror as a research assistant entered the cabin. She sat opposite Elias, hoping to engage him in conversation, but he remained silent. At first, Brown assumed she was nervous. Maybe Elias sensed it. Either way, their conversation was stilted, awkward. But gradually, Elias relaxed. He spoke of mundane things, his garden, the trees, the sky. Still, he never closed his eyes, nor did the assistant. She stayed awake with him for 12 hours until she finally fell asleep in her chair. Elias never blinked. Then the second night, the third night, then the fourth. Brown watched as one researcher after another fell asleep, all except him. He refused to yield. Not for Elias, not for science, not for anything. But by the fifth night, exhaustion took its toll. His eyes drooped, his head nodded, and as he slumped forward, he heard a voice, barely a whisper, "You don't have to do this." He snapped back. It must have been exhaustion, sleep deprivation. But when he turned, he saw Elias staring at him, eyes wide, unwavering. "You don't have to do this," Elias repeated, and suddenly Emmett Brown understood. It wasn't a command, it was a warning. Still, he pushed on. Day turned to night, night turned to day. But Brown's resolve crumbled. The others had fallen prey to exhaustion, succumbing to sleep's embrace. Yet he alone remained, haunted by Elias's unwavering gaze. The sixth night proved relentless. The cabin's sterile confines felt suffocating. The monitors hum a maddening drone. Then it happened. As Brown dozed off, he heard it, the voice again, closer now. "Look." Startled, he looked where Elias sat motionless, but something had changed. Elias's eyes were closed. His chest, his breathing, it was stilling. Brown rushed to his side, frantically checking his vitals, heart, pulse, brain waves, all flatlining. Had it happened? Did Elias finally succumb to sleep? Was he finally resting? Or was it something more sinister? A chilling thought struck Brown. What if Elias wasn't sleeping? What if he never had? What if all those years of seemingly endless wakefulness were a ruse, a facade to conceal something far more sinister? Something that lay dormant within the recesses of his mind, something that only emerged when the world slipped into slumber. As the seventh night descended, an eerie realization crept upon Brown. Perhaps Elias's vigil wasn't about defying sleep, but about banishing it. What if his nocturnal tales were a desperate bid to keep the darkness at bay, to ward off the horrors that haunted his waking hours? And what if the true horror lay not in his sleepless nights, but in the secrets they concealed? Suddenly, Elias's last message echoed in his mind. Sleep is surrender. Was it a surrender to the darkness, a surrender to the unseen forces that lurked in the shadows? With each passing moment, doubt gnawed at Brown. Had he stumbled into a terrifying mystery far beyond his understanding? Was Elias merely a sleepless man or something more? Something that thrived in the darkness, that used the cover of night to exist, to watch, to pray? The answers, it seemed, lay hidden in the depths of Elias's enigmatic silence. The morning after, Elias's body was discovered, not in the cabin, but on the forest floor, a short distance away. His eyes stared vacantly at the sky, his limbs contorted as if in a silent scream. His skin, once vibrant, now bore the pallid hue of death, his lips a ghastly blue. There were no signs of struggle, no indication of how he'd managed to leave the cabin unnoticed during the night. Around him, the forest floor bore the imprints of his final moments, his fingernails dug into the soft earth. His hand clutched a handful of leaves, his face twisted in a silent snarl. But what truly chilled Dr. Brown was the serene expression etched on Elias's features, an expression devoid of fear, pain, or surprise, just an unnerving calm. It was as if he'd departed peacefully, serenely, as if death had embraced him gently. Yet Brown knew better. Sleepless. Elias had met a grim fate, a fate that transcended mere mortality. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months, yet the enigma surrounding Elias's demise deepened. The autopsy report revealed no cause of death, no foul play, no underlying health conditions. He simply ceased to be, his life force ebbing away silently, inexplicably. The sleep researchers grappled with theories, each more speculative than the last. Had Elias succumbed to a rare, rapidly progressing disease? Was there some unknown, untraceable toxin at play? Or was there something more sinister, something lurking in the fringes of their understanding, something that had come for Elias in the dead of night? One theory posited that Elias hadn't died, that he'd somehow managed to escape their surveillance, leaving them none the wiser. But this seemed increasingly unlikely. Why would he abandon his cabin, his sanctuary? Why sever his connection to the one thing that had defined him for over 15 years? The notion that Elias's death might hold some supernatural, otherworldly significance loomed ever larger in their minds. Could there be entities, forces beyond our perception that had claimed him, drawn to his unique existence, his prolonged wakefulness? The answer, whatever it may be, lay hidden in the dense woods surrounding the cabin, Elias's last earthly abode. But as the trees rustled in the wind, as shadows stretched and deepened, the researchers found themselves not just seeking answers but bracing for impact. They had trespassed into a realm they didn't understand, a realm where the rules of their world no longer applied. And now they were about to learn the unsettling truth of sleeplessness. The researchers made a grim discovery in Elias's cabin. Etched into the wooden wall was a message, a single sentence, stark and chilling. Sleep is surrender. The words seemed to mock them, to taunt them with their own helplessness. And as they stood there contemplating Elias's cryptic message, the full weight of their situation crashed upon them. They had spent countless hours, days really, trying to understand Elias, to comprehend his existence, his life, his choices. Yet here he was telling them sleep is surrender, implying that his entire struggle, his insistence on remaining awake, was a defiance of something or someone that desired his slumber. But what? What could it be? And then it hit them, a realization so simple, so obvious, yet they'd overlooked it all this time. Elias hadn't been trying to defy sleep. He'd been trying to defy the dreamers, those who sought to delve into his mind, to peer into his sleepless existence. He was guarding something, shielding his nocturnal existence from their prying eyes. But what was he hiding? The question echoed in their minds as they stared at the wall. The message burned into their retinas. Suddenly, Elias's words from the very beginning took on a new meaning. I don't sleep because I'm not meant to dream. It wasn't just a statement. It was a warning. He wasn't like them, he'd said. He wasn't human. He was something else. The implications sent a shiver down their spines. Elias wasn't just sleepless. He was something that existed outside their reality, something that observed them, their world, their lives while they slept. He'd been watching them. The revelation hit them like a tidal wave. Elias hadn't been just keeping vigil. He'd been guarding against intrusion. He'd been protecting his nocturnal existence from their interference. But why? Why was he so adamant about not sleeping, about staying awake? Because when he slept, that's when they came. When the world was plunged into darkness, that's when he'd vanish. He'd cease to exist in their reality, becoming nothing but a whisper in their dreams. So now the question wasn't just what had happened to Elias. Now it was what would happen to them. Because if Elias was right, if he was something that thrived in the darkness, then they were in grave danger. The line between the waking world and the dream world had blurred, and they were teetering on the edge, poised between reality and nightmare. As they fled, the woods closing in around them, the trees reaching out like grasping claws, the researchers knew they weren't just running from a mystery. They were running from a truth that threatened to consume them, to drag them into a realm where the boundaries of human understanding ceased to exist. They ran, desperate to escape the clutches of the night, the same night that had claimed Elias, the sleepless man who'd shown them the true cost of wakefulness.